Hello and welcome to another edition of That Millwall podcast. As you can see, we are without regular host and IT technician Mickey, or also known as the X-Fan on the board. He is struggling with an injury this evening to his neck. I'm not going to get into what he's done. We're not gonna ask you at all to predict or guess what Mickey's done to his neck in the chat whatsoever. But the intro a little bit different. Back to the older one. As I say, I'm not the master IT technician, but tonight alongside me we have the one and only Joe Zampa. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, Stephen. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, very well, mate. Very well, very well.
Good.
And Jay, how are you, my friend?
Good chaps, good chaps. How are we both doing? All good?
Yeah, all good, all good. So, yesterday the Lions won. We beat Watford 1-0. It was efficient, should we say? I think is the best way to describe it. Before I get into, or we get into the match yesterday and a little bit more the ins and outs of the game itself, I just wanted to address and kind of an underlying tone for the episode. Neil Harris. I have a concern that Neil Harris probably isn't the right man to be in charge when the players report back from pre-season in June or July, whenever it is. I don't think we can sustain a 46-game season playing the style of football that we saw yesterday and we saw at Southampton. However, in the here and now, Joe Edwards was relieved of his duties, and I firmly believe that we were going down under Joe Edwards. And the board made a decision to turn to Neil Harris and said to him, right, 13 cup finals, Neil, keep us up. He's won 2 of them out of 2. Right now, he is the right man to be leading us, and he's the right man to get us out of trouble. Now, I know people might disagree with that, and I'm going to come to Jay. I'll come to you first shortly. But I know that not everyone will agree with that, but I think that summarises where we are pretty much as a club, right?
Yeah, totally agree. Look, we said a couple of times on the previous pod, especially when Harris was hired, that this wasn't a hire about playing style, about football or the technical side of the game or playing attacking football or anything to do with that. This was a hire for the here and now, as you just said, about we are going to war for the next 13 weeks, and who better out there to lead this club into war. It's got 13 games when Harris come in. Now, if you go a different direction, a new manager might need 4 weeks of that 13 to get used to his players, used to the club, used to how these players play under him, sort of systems and so on. Harris has that in his favour already. So he could come in from the get-go and get something going the second he walks through the door. Now, 2 results out of 2, 6 points out of 6 is a fantastic return. I know we're going to come on to some 3-word opinions in a bit, so I'll save it for then. But I said in my gut reaction on Saturday after Watford, while it's a great result, I don't know if it's sustainable for 12 weeks, let alone for 46, like you just said. So, yeah, it's for the here and now, so I'm trying to put that aside, the football side of things, but I totally agree with what you're saying going into the off-season.
Before I come to you, Joe, evening everyone in the chat. I am going to attempt to be right bang up to date with the comments. So when Mickey's back, there's no slander, or we want Mickey back. Joe, obviously following on from what I said, I think yesterday it was abundantly clear that the players have reacted to Harris, the fans have reacted to Harris, but it's going to take some effort to really continue to play at the level that we are over the rest of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the team that started against Watford, there's only one change from the game previous against Southampton. So, yeah, how is he going to continue picking the same 11 or 12 players to start, if you like, week after week? It's going to change. He's going to use his squad. Lots of people asking, why Casper isn't starting, or maybe why Broughton and Cuffy not starting, 1 or 2 others. But I think at the end of the day, he's got a squad of players. He picks the team who he believes is good enough to beat the opposition. And let's be honest, we had two tough fixtures away to Southampton for a team that keep the ball very, very well, that can hurt you and punish you if you don't defend well against them. And although Watford were quite poor yesterday, they're still a decent side. They've still got international players, and on their day, they could probably beat anyone in that division. So you can't play too openly and let them play through you. So I think he picked the team and he set them out a game plan not too dissimilar against Southampton. And guess what? We've got 2 wins out of 2 games. You can't argue that, can you?
Absolutely. And obviously moving on to the game, as you said there, Joe, we made one change from the Southampton win the previous week. I actually had called beforehand. I thought Longman might have been dropped, rested, however you want to call it. But the team that started with Duncan Watmore, I kind of felt like it was close to being a team that Harris wanted to get us on the front foot, and perhaps the game plan under Neil is going to be to score early. It's not going to happen every week, but it has back to back, and that really, really settled us a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the team that sat against Southampton were a very good, strong, working defensive team. I think you're right. Being at home against Watford, who perhaps when I say we were slight favourites to beat them, probably so, being at home with the momentum behind us after winning Southampton. So I think he went with Watmore instead of Longman to give us that little bit more of an attacking threat being at home. I'll be honest with you, I don't think it worked. I think he should start with Longman. I thought Long done really well against Southampton on that left-hand side, helping out Danny McNamara. Watmore just looks, I wouldn't say he looks unfit. He just does not look like he's a 90-minute player. Whenever I've seen Watmore start, he's never the same player as he is when he comes on off the bench, does he? So, but look, hindsight is a wonderful thing. Perhaps he could have done brilliantly, could have scored. Who knows? I mean, he did have a chance, to be fair, in the end of the first half, didn't he? I think where he was a bit unlucky, hit the post with that. But with a crystal ball, he probably would have been better off sticking with Longman rather than Watmore. But I'm sure over the next couple of more games, he'll probably get a better idea on who his strongest 11 is. At the moment, he's probably just tinkering a little bit.
Absolutely. And Jay, I think we've had this conversation. I know Chaps is very much on this train of thought that it doesn't really matter how the ball hits the back of the net. It doesn't matter who scores. It doesn't matter, necessarily when it comes, it just has to hit the back of the net. And I don't know about you guys yesterday where you were, but it was a delayed reaction for me when the ball hit the back of the net. It was kind of like, and we've scored. But Ian Fleming won the free kick, finds the back of the net with a deflection. You can't really ask much more from the supposed talisman, can you, Jay?
No, definitely not. And it was pretty much the same as Southampton, and pretty much the same as it's been most of the season, where we look really good them first 20 minutes. We're on the front foot, and the opposition are struggling to suss us out with what we're going to do. And it was a great free kick from Ian Fleming, took a slight deflection, but that's what he's doing at the moment. And in 2 games, it's 3 set pieces, if you class the penalty as a set piece. Set pieces are being really key at the moment in this Millwall side under Harris. But I am concerned with when the opposition adjusts and they start to put us under pressure. I think we're too quick to go into that defensive mode. I don't think we try and match them up. I thought the team he picked, as you said, with Watmore, would have given us a bit more attacking intent. Longman's probably better at holding the ball up, but Harris said himself he wasn't happy with how we kept the ball. We didn't move it about. Watford are a good team. They played good yesterday. They wasn't bad yesterday. They created a lot of chances. But again, it's a very good defensive performance. We kept them out. We nullified them. They didn't create too many clear-cut chances, and we won the game. Can we do that every week for 90 minutes, especially when we've got 3 games in a week? I don't know. I think we'll see more changes. I don't think we'll see Billy and Sav every week. I was surprised that Casper didn't start, especially at home. But, it's 6 points in 2 games. We can be critical at the end of the season when we know what the club's long-term approach is going to be with the manager position. But for the right now, this is just a dogfight to get points, and we've got 6 out of 6.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a couple of comments, guys. I've saved a couple of them for us to come back to, because there's some really, really good points being raised at the moment. I think that the problem is, as a supporter, when you go at home, you hear Neil Harris, and he says, "I want the fans to be excited to come and watch their team play. I want them to come to the Den and enjoy their day." Now, we all have different, probably pre-match routines. Some go to the CAF, some go to the Blue Bus, some get to the game 5 minutes before kickoff. Whatever it is that you do, you go to a game of football. I do, and I look forward to seeing Millwall play. I hope that they win, and I look forward to it. But I don't know how you can say really about enjoying a game of football when you only really have 2 efforts on goal. It just seems a little bit baffling. It's almost as if Harris is saying the things that he wants us to hear. And don't get me wrong, I'm not criticising the fact he's obviously trying to get the fans back on board after Joe Edwards. But do you not think, Joe, that it's conflicting messages where he's saying, I want people to come and enjoy it, but the end result, we've won the game 1-0, which is the main thing, but everyone's quick to just basically shut down everything that we've done for 90 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, before I answer that question, I've just seen the comments come through. I just want to answer Miles' question. So Miles being a little bit sort of harsh, I think, on Obafemi. Obviously, as we know, guys, the last sort of 2 years, Obafemi hasn't played hardly any football at all. He's probably played a few minutes here and there. He's had lots of injuries, lots of problems. He did try and get back into our team, and then he was off with illness for a little bit of time. He really sort of struggled, I think, against Southampton. You can see that he was really, really tired. And he completed about 60, 70 minutes, I think, yesterday. That. So he's just working. He's working his fitness levels up. So, Miles, rest assured, Obafemi will come good, but he needs a couple of more games to build that fitness levels up. And once he gets that fitness levels up, honestly, he's going to be some player for us. And I think you can see little glimpses in his pace and what he's like when he's actually on the ball. At the moment, he's just chasing scraps. So another point is on Watmore. I disagree on what Miles is saying. I feel like I'm digging Miles out here, but it's only because I saw the question come through. I don't think Watmore is not up for it or don't give a shit. You can see quite clearly he's trying. His head's down. He's running. He's trying to track back and doing what he can. I just don't think he's got the kind of the engine or the fitness, whatever you want to call it, to play this sort of system. And whether he'll get into that kind of way in the next sort of few games, who knows? But like I said, for me, I see Watmore as an impact player. I see him as a half-hour, 20-minute player come on and do something. But what's your question again? Sorry, Stephen. I forgot you were going to ask me.
No, that's it. I mean, just before I'll come back to the question, but the guys in the comments, we do see them all. I'm trying to star as many of them as possible so we can come back to them. But if there's any that you guys, Jay and Joe, if you pick them out, by all means,
I'm writing them down now, Steve. I'm just conscious that these guys are taking the time to kind of write these comments and they're tuning in every single week. I think it's unfair for us just kind of breeze through these comments and not absorb them. And I try to read every single comment that comes through. If I can answer them, I will. I'm sure you guys will too. So this week I've got my pen and my pad. I'm actually writing these comments down in names. So I'll get back to you if I miss you.
Yeah, I want to back off of that for Watmore as well, because when under Rowett, when Watmore was being used more as that last sort of 20-minute man, he had all the energy in the world. And like you said, it's not for the want of trying with Watmore. He does give 150%. His 150%, though, just lasts half an hour. And after half an hour yesterday, he looked absolutely shot to bits. He was unable to press. He was putting Danny Mack in some difficult situations. And that's why the change was made. It was the right change. But I see the intent from Harris to start with an attacking-ish type formation. I would have liked to have seen Mayer or perhaps Emarku on one side with Watmore on the other, because having Watmore on one side of that attack and then Honeyman on the other, we become lopsided a little bit. We had some real good defensive on one side and then it was just attack on the other. So I think it needs to be a little bit more balanced and a lot more fresh legs, because that's the same team, bar Watmore, that you said, Stephen, played in a really grueling, hard 90 minutes against Southampton. And it was very much the same yesterday. So I expect wholesale changes, especially going on the road as well with Blackburn.
Sorry, Steve, but I know we don't want to spend the whole show about Watmore here, but just on that point, what you've got to remember as well is since we've had Watmore, we've never asked him to play left midfield or right midfield, and so having to track back. He's always played in a front three, whether it be on the left, the right, in the middle. So yes, although he has to kind of track back at times or follow the fullback, whatever, but he's not responsible for that. But yesterday's game, he's been asked to do a lot of defending. And you look at the people like Longman, mean, fuck me, Honeyman did it on both flanks, so he looked so good. Even in the 85th minute, he's still busting a gut, Honeyman, and he looks so fit. But Honeyman can do that. He's built that way. His stamina is different to Watmore. Watmore's a bit more explosive player on the front foot. So basically, he'll run explosive energy, and then it's about recovery, and then go again. And that's what strikers are like. Midfielders can do it all day long, but they'll just be constantly moving all the time. You know, so. Yeah,
look, we all want Harris to put the best players out there. We all want to see Casper Denores, Imarcus, Myers. We want to see electric players and, the better players out there. But it was the same under Edwards and the same under Rowett. If they're not going to fit the system, or they're not going to fit the type of game plan that Harris is putting out there, let's face it, Harris is the manager. If he's got a certain game plan he wants to enforce, certain players are not going to fit into that. He's kept Billy and Sav, which is probably the biggest talking point over the Harris selection since he's come in the last 2 weeks. But they've been really good, the pair of them. And both weeks now, Southampton and Watford, they've been forced out wide because they have shored the middle up. So we might get the that we're not seeing Caspers, or we're not seeing Marcus or Mayers and so on. But if we're winning games and it's the players are doing what Harris is installing and they're the right players for the system, then we can't have too many complaints. Again, the only complaint is it sustainable? I personally don't think it is. I think we are going to come unstuck in periods where we're playing 3 games in a week. But what can we say after 2 weeks at the moment? It's not pretty on the eye, but this was never about being pretty. This was about winning games of football.
Can I just make a point there? Sorry, mate. Cheers, Stephen. Sustainable, it's not. I go back to Stephen's question earlier. Yes, Harris talks about creating a buzz, an atmosphere, getting the fans behind us, giving them attacking football. Do you really think that Harris will be setting us up these last 2 games the way he has done if this was the beginning of the season and we had 46 games ahead of us? He'll be going for it. Harris will be going attacking football, letting the players express themselves. But guys, we're not in that situation. We're in a survival mode at the moment. We've got 13 games, we had 13 games. We've now got 11 games left, and we've got to win games to stay up. So, of course, every game's a cup final. Every game we can't afford to lose. We can't afford to concede. We've got to nick a goal here and there where we can and survive it. But I guarantee you, come next season, and everyone's back to 0 again, you press that reset button, then I'm sure for the first 10, 15 games, Harris will play attacking, expressive football, and see how we get on. We'll roll the dice. But if we come unstuck and we end up doing shit or whatever, lose lots of games, then guess what? He'll probably go defensive and try and grind out results again. But at the moment, where we are at this point of the season, we need to get wins. We can't afford to lose games. And that's why we're seeing what we're getting. But I think the point that Harris was making was getting the fans on board, getting the players up for it. And you're definitely seeing more fight now for the players and more effort. And I mean, God knows what they're doing in the distance they're running at the moment in games. But I tell you what, there's a lot more that they did under Joe Edwards and probably right before that as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think the thing with it is the same performance we put in yesterday was pretty much the same at Southampton. Less attacking. But there was 0 complaints about that at Southampton because they're a fantastic team. They like to keep...
And we're away from home as well.
And we're away from home. So I expect that away from home, and people should expect that Tuesday night as well. Don't think we're
very similar.
It will be very similar. I was just slightly disheartened that we was very much the same at home against a team that really is struggling. They're a great team, Watford, but they are struggling, and there was an opportunity there to really get after them. And I thought we let that get by us. Harris did say he wasn't happy with some of our passing. We didn't retain possession as much. That's stuff that they'll work on. Some of these players he hasn't worked with. That was Watmore's first interaction playing in a Harris team, and it probably took
I was going to say that, Jay. Sorry to interrupt you there, but you've got to remember, this is the first time Harris has started Watmore and the first time he's seen him play in this position. Will he play Watmore left midfield against Blackburn on Tuesday? If I was a betting man, I'll say put your money on that. He won't. It's going to take him a few games to sort of look at these players, looking what they can do, what they can't do, who's up for the fight, who's not up for the fight. It's going to be a few games like that, And I think slowly he will work out his team, his best team, and how he wants to play it. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, we're in survival mode. Forget about playing lovely football and exciting football to watch on the eye. It's about getting wins at the moment. I don't give a shit how we play at the moment.
No,
as long as we get those wins.
Exactly that, and we can debate that in the off season when that comes, and hopefully it's with Championship football. But like,
don't get me wrong, if we stay up and then next season, come August, and he starts playing the same football he's playing now, I'll be thinking, hang on a minute, what the fuck's going on here? We're not fucking fighting a relegation battle at the moment. What are you doing? Yeah. But at the moment, I fully back up, see what he's trying to do, and we need to grind it out. We've got 2 wins, probably another 2-3 more wins for us this next sort of 10, 11 games. I think we can do it. I really do.
Absolutely. And that comment there from Finn, I believe he's a Coventry fan. Relegation survival footy never looks pretty. It's about fight and spirit, and 100%
Absolutely,
every game.
Finn. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what you get with Harris. That's what you get with Harris's team. That's what you get from Dave Livermore as his assistant. That's the message that's being that's the message that's being passed on to us. Keeping with the game and going back to, I'm going to go back to a comment that I'd starred from earlier from Connor. Harris has turned Sarkic from an inflatable waving tube man to Courtois. Now,
I like that.
So do I. That's a fantastic comment. I must admit, I thought, and I really, really convinced myself that Sarkic wouldn't be playing under Neil Harris. I was convinced that he was going to go back to the bar. He was going to bring back all the old guard, basically, and Sarkic would have been dropped. I have to say, I thought he was excellent yesterday. To echo what Connor said there. In the first half, in the space of a minute, he come and claimed a catch that was a very difficult. It was a difficult ball to come for. And also the little flick with his hand when the ball come across and he sort of scooped it up over the...
That's a good reaction, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good thinking to do that. That spare,
absolutely.
That second.
Absolutely. And I thought, looking at Watford's defence and Hamer in goal for them, he was at fault for our goal. He miscontrolled that ball that led to a corner.
Yeah.
Watmore took it round him because there was a distraction with him and the defender. And I just think I looked at him and I thought I could see that in Sarkic about a month ago. Sort of things
when
happening.
The confidence was low.
Yeah, but yesterday completely different. And he's added this picking the ball up and just falling on the floor and just wasting time. Harris has kind of said to him,
10 seconds.
Yeah, that's typical Harris fashion.
Yeah, he's been in his ear going, come on. Every time you get the ball, drop down, hold on to it. And it's really pleasing to see. And I know not everyone agrees with Harris's style of football, but he's clearly getting to these players. He's riding them up and he's going, come on, we can do this. And Sarkic seems to be one. I don't know what you guys think. I don't mind. Maybe Joe coming first there. Sarkic and a couple of others, I think, Billy Mitchell, Danny McNamara, Ryan Leonard, that confidence is just absolutely, flowing through them because they're doing what they know they can.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, he's a motivator, Neil Harris. Anyone and everyone that knows him or work with him, players stuff will tell you that. He's someone who'll get in your ear roll. He'll talk to you before games in training, and he'll be motivating players and getting them up for it, stuff like that. And I believe that's what's happened with Sarkic. Sarkic, you're right, looks a much more confident player. His ball handling's good, his decision making's better. And I think Harris even mentioned him in interviews, about how good he is. And he mentioned the fact that he's now, playing like I don't think he actually quoted the amount they paid for him, but he sort of said what the price we paid for, he's now showing his value of a quality goalkeeper, what we all believe he's good at, So it's only going to help him, and I'm sure it'll help many others as well. But yeah, that's the difference between Harris and say somebody like Gary Rowett or Joe Edwards, who, as good as they were as tacticians, they weren't really motivational type sort of personal managers, were they? Who get the best out of their players?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Sorry, Stephen, go on, Karen.
No, I was just going to say, I thought, I wasn't sure if you were going to jump in there on Sarkic. I was going to say, if you come in there, and then Joe, if you want to respond back to Spencer.
Very, very, very quickly. Yeah, Spencer, I mean, to your point, I see what you're saying, but what you've got to remember is watching Watmore in a 5v5 training drill or a shooting drill or whatever it might be, it's very different to seeing him in a match day, in an intense game, 11v11, when, there's a lot at stake. And I think for Harris, what he's seen in Watmore is probably really, really good in training. He's probably seen him being up for it, scoring goals, making little dribbles and doing what he does. But the difference is when you come to match day, it's a completely different ball game, But what this would have done on Saturday would have given Harris an idea as to whether he wants to carry on playing him, whether he feels he needs more game time in order to improve his stamina. But what you see in training is not always what you see in match days. To Harris's defence, there, Spencer.
I'll comment on that. The thing is, as well, we're going to see a lot more of Watmore because Bradshaw's now probably done for the season. So we do not have many attacking threats. And Marku, I don't think he's ready to lead the line every week. I think that will be Obafemi's gig now until the end of the season. But we are going to need Watmore late in games. We are going to need Marku. And these guys do need playing time if we're going to get any form of performance out of them in the stretch that's coming, So I would have liked to have seen him, Marku. Maybe we'll see him Tuesday. But Watmore getting that 60 minutes under his belt would be massive because he hasn't played a lot recently, and it would have been a culture shock for him to have to play in that system under Harris. So, yeah, we are going to see a lot more of him because we got injuries.
I thought the substitution he made there for Watmore was excellent. Bring Norton Cuffy, getting Honeyman to go on the other flank to deal on that problem on the left-hand side. The only move he did, which I wasn't quite impressed with, was bring Longman on for Obafemi. I think had he gone for Maku, you'll kind of almost bring a like for like. I think we desperately need pace up front in the middle on the counter. Bringing Maku on for Obafemi for the last 20 minutes, however long it was, would have been a much better move. Because the trouble is when you bring Longman on there, yes, he's probably going to do the pressing like Bradshaw would do, but you're not going to give them the kind of the fear that we might catch them on the break. And at that point, you can see they just controlled the rest of the game, Watford. They played a very high line. They knew we weren't going to get them on the break. And it's a different game there. So, but again, it's a learning curve for Harris as well. You see what the players can do, what they can't do.
I actually thought as well that because Longman was brought on against QPR, wasn't he, for Nisbet, and he was kind of used as a scapegoat. At that point, I thought for Edwards to say to the board, "Get me a striker," because I've only got, Bradshaw was struggling. I've only got Nisbet. I need some help. Yesterday, I don't necessarily think it was a scapegoat tactic from Harris. I think possibly he'd spoke to Adam Barrett and said, "What can we do here?" Don't want to risk the young lads, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think the game was, someone said it earlier, and I'm not sure which one of you said it. I think the game was crying out for Marku's pace to help us when Obafemi went off. And Adam Barrett's probably gone, well, Ryan Longman's he's played up front a bit. You could try that. And Harris, having worked with all of the players. I mean, I don't know if that's actually happened. That's just me guessing, but who knows?
Could he have brought Longman on because he wanted literally 11 players behind the ball? Now, if that's the case, then that's the right decision to make because Longmore can be your first line of defence playing in that front line because he'll get behind the ball, he'll try and close things down and try and stop gaps in between the lines. But what I did notice, the game did change when Obafemi was on the pitch. Watford played a very, very deep defensive line, which allowed us to kind of play a little bit hard at the pitch. But as soon as Longman came on, you just see the defensive line push right up to the halfway line, and suddenly we were pegged back, and we couldn't hurt him on the break.
Yeah, that's the problem I had with that sub was that we then relinquished our outlet, and Watford saw that. And it was kitchen sink time, and there was cross after cross. It was pumped in the box. And then when we was clearing it, because Cooper was knocking it long, we didn't have anybody up there to just stretch it, just take it into the corner or, just try and bring us upfield. That's the problem I had with that. Now, that may have been a Barrett thing. They may have discussed that. There may have been a bit more discipline from Longman to defend more, like you said, Joe, stick 11 men behind the ball. I think that's the message it sent to Watford. And I think that's why they then really pushed. And it wouldn't have looked very good if they did get an equaliser or then went on to win it. I thought it was prime time to see Marku then, because that would have been great to get him some game time. You would have had 10 men behind the ball already set in their stone with their positional awareness and the game plan. And just say to him, Marku, just sit on the halfway line because as we clear it,
on the shoulder.
On the shoulder, just beat your man. You'll keep a couple of defenders back. Because I noticed with set pieces as well, is that they kept 3 people up, Watford, every set piece.
Yeah, they did.
And then we had to keep 3 people on them. So Billy sat in the middle and Danny and Lenny had to sit. So they was nullifying us a hell of a lot as well. So it was a very tactical approach from both managers, I think. I just think the Longman one he got, he missed an opportunity there to get some legs into one of the youngsters who we're going to need with Bradshaw out.
Absolutely. Before I'm going to come on to a couple of individual players that I wanted to talk about. There's a couple of comments that I've starred. I'm going to come back to. Firstly, this one from Danny, and then it leads on to one from Richard. Whilst I'm so happy we're winning, I find it disheartening other teams around us are also winning. And to follow that up with Richard's comment, love him or hate him, without the last 2 wins, we would be 5 points adrift in the bottom 3.
Exactly.
Now,
Richard.
this is the big thing. I can't tell you how disappointed I was sat in my seat yesterday when I saw that QPR were 2-0 up at Leicester.
Yeah.
You just think, bloody hell, what as your luck. However, those clubs would have thought exactly the same thing last week when we went to Southampton and were 1-0 up and then 2-1 up. And again, I don't want to keep talking about Joe Edwards. It's in the past. But had he have been manager for these 2 games, we would be 5 points adrift and we would be staring down the barrel of relegation. So I agree, Danny. It's very disheartening to see the other teams keep winning around us. However, 1, Harris is keeping us in the fight. That's all you can ask for. 2, it could be a whole lot worse if we weren't getting those results over the line. And thirdly, and I'll invite both of you in on this, we are now dragging in Plymouth, even Middlesbrough, Watford, Birmingham, Stoke, Blackburn. We're dragging these teams. We play Blackburn Tuesday. We play Birmingham next week. We're within a win of those teams. And they were probably thinking, oh, we're okay. They're going to be looking over their shoulder now. They can't treat these games as free hits. They're going to have to turn up.
What's interesting, it's so dicey there now at the moment. I went, I met a mate of mine who's a Watford fan. And he was there at the game, and I also met him afterwards. We had a few beers, something to eat up in London, stuff like that. And he's a die-hard Watford fan. He goes home and away all the time. And he said, when I sat in the car at the end of the game, I said, "What do you think?" He goes, "It's just 2 shit teams. It's a shit game, 2 shit teams." He goes, "What do you expect? But you boys needed the points, and you fought for it more than we did." I went and I said to him, well, to be fair, Watford, they're safe, aren't they? I said, look, they're kind of, mid-table. They don't need the points. And when you say that, but we're now only 5 points ahead of you guys. We're now 6 or 7 points, he said, from relegation, like from the bottom 3. And I was like, fuck me, is that right? I had a quick look at the table and it was true. I mean, he's Watford are now closer to the bottom 3 than they are at a 6th spot playoff place. And that's the thing. I think from Watford down to Sheffield Wednesday, who are second off bottom, you can see there's only about, 5 or 6 points splitting those God knows how many teams, 8 teams. Do you see what I mean? So
yeah,
this season, unlike others, it's going to take a lot to stay up. Because in previous years, where you need like 45 points or 46 points for safety, mathematically, you probably need at least 50 points now, I reckon, for the first time in a long time, in order to get survival, and it's going to go down to the wire.
That leads me nicely to another comment, and Jay, I'll invite you in on this one from Le Lion Bleu. 2 weeks ago, we was asked how many points do we need to stay up. I believe 17 points or so would be needed, considering other teams around us are picking up points. Will 17 be enough? This is the thing, that points tally that every season that comes out, doesn't it? The stat comes out. How many points do you need to get in the playoffs? How many points do you need to get to be safe? And honestly, at the time Harris come in, I thought it was going to be around the 48 mark. That's kind of what I had in mind. I haven't got a clue now. Jay, any? Can you shed the light on what the points total might be?
I said 12 points was needed before we went into Southampton. I think it's 12 points needed from this point on from Blackburn. I think, could you imagine being a QPR fan going away to top of the league, beating them, and then seeing that we've won? I know we're upset, and fans, and I said it in my gut reaction that, look, yeah, it is disheartening, but I don't care. Because as long as we win, they can win 11 games if they want. If we win 11 games, I'm not going to care, because they'll be below us. We've dragged Birmingham, Middlesbrough, Blackburn, Plymouth all into it. Stoke
are banging trouble, James.
Stoke are big in trouble. And if they lost yesterday, Schumacher was going to get the sack. And I wouldn't be surprised if this week Watford manager gets the sack as well. But there's so many teams in it now, and it actually makes it a lot more. It actually makes it better for us in terms of we still need to stay on our toes. we can't get complacent. We still have to turn up, keep the mentality and keep the belief, because we ain't pulling ourselves away yet. It does still keep that fear in the back of our mind. But QPR and Sheffield Wednesday and Stoke, their fans would be feeling so much worse than ours after Saturday. They really would, because they won massive games. Massive games. It ain't great. And yes, it beating Southampton and Watford. And if the others lost around us, you could be looking at a couple more wins and we might be all right. So it is really, really tight down there. But we're playing two teams this week that are right dragged in with us now, Blackburn and Birmingham. And if we can get something from these games, you know, we could have an 8 or 9 team relegation battle going on, which only beats us.
Just on that though, just looking at the fixtures and really interesting, they're split over Tuesday and Wednesday. So some teams will play first, like us, for example. We play on Tuesday. You've got Birmingham travel to Hull. That's a tough fixture. Stoke travel to Leeds. That's a real tough fixture. Sheffield Wednesday v Plymouth. So that one of them teams guaranteed can't pick up maximum points. QPR are at home to West Brom. Again, they're in good form, but that's a tough fixture. Millwall, Blackburn. All of these games, all of these teams are starting to play. From Middlesbrough, who you might think are relatively safe, they're playing Norwich. Norwich are flying at the moment, and you know, going for the playoffs. So every fixture or every week of fixtures, there's 6 or 7 games now that are, you're thinking, Christ, it is. And you know, last year we were looking at the playoffs and thinking, oh, they're playing this playing this. But again, for obviously the wrong reasons, you're looking at 6, 7 fixtures and thinking, Christ, they could be in trouble. They could be in trouble. It's a nightmare.
Well, just the next 2 games alone are 6 pointers, aren't they? This is what's going to be this part of the season when all these teams in that section I talked about between Watford and Sheffield Wednesday will play each other. These are all the 6 pointers. Yeah, we win against Blackburn, we win against Birmingham. Suddenly, those 2 are bang in trouble, and we're out of it. You know, equally, if we lose those games, they pull themselves out. We're banging it again. You know, so it's so important. But you know what? It's what makes it exciting, doesn't it? You know, if you unless you're challenging for promotion or you're fighting a relegation battle, what's the fucking point? If you're in mid-table, sometimes it does make it a little bit interesting, a bit exciting. But all to play for the next couple of games, definitely.
Absolutely. And another, again, a couple of comments on this. First one from Charlie. Can we sign any strikers who are free agents to ease the shortage? And then follow up with one from the Daily Millwall. Need to sign a centre forward. We have until the 4th Thursday in March to sign a free agent. Now, I didn't know that there was a deadline for that. I must admit. So that's good knowledge for me.
I'm disappointing you, Stephen. You're usually pretty good at better than that normally.
Well, I'm honest though. I'm honest, Joe. That's another quality. Would you guys be looking at the free agent market again? I can probably find a list somewhere. Would you? Is that too much of a risk? Would you look to do that?
Who's available? Let's be honest. You know, unless you're going for an oldie. Yeah, if you're going for an oldie, let's say you're going for an old 33, 34-year-old big lump centre forward target man type person, then maybe yes, someone we could bring on for the last sort of 10, 15 minutes. We're chasing the game and he'd go long. But otherwise, I don't think there's much available. I mean, surely if there's anyone good enough, they'll have been snapped up by now. Wouldn't you have thought so? I don't know.
I'm actually trying to find the list. I think, are you
Jay's looking at it,
or have you?
Yeah.
Okay, while you're getting that, we'll carry on. I mean, there's also a couple people saying Connor Wickham, but I'm not sure about.
No, I don't think so. But you know, saying that,
he's for 3.0.
Connor Wickham's is, you know, in his heyday would be the sort of players we could do with someone who's, you know, can hold a ball up, bit of a target man, you know. But yeah, I don't know what he's like now. He must be about 37, 38. Lions Raw made a comment earlier about Obafemi, the way we're playing with him. I mean, you're right there, Lions Raw, because we're hitting these long balls to him, and Obafemi's about 4'2", and he's trying to challenge a header against a 6'7" centre back called, is it Hoyt, their captain, who I thought was their best player. To be fair, I thought he was excellent, immense. I mean, he won every header, everything that was coming his way. And my Watford fan again mentioned that he is already their best player, or he's going to be their player of the season this season. So it seems that's what he's been doing consistently. So I think Watford have got a couple of players that are trying. A lot of them are not trying for the manager at the moment, but he looked good. And like I said, when you're playing him up against Obafemi, what do you expect? I agree with Lions Raw, what you're saying there.
Absolutely. And just a couple of there's a couple of comments coming through about some players, John Daddy
surely not.
I think there's, and the big comment is, and like this one here from Andrew, and would any of these free agents be match fit? If it takes a player 4 or 5 games to get fit, how is that going to help us? I agree 100%. That's why.
Look at Obafemi. That's someone who's young and, and you think he's got some natural fitness. Any of these free agents are going to be in, on the wrong side, age-wise. They'll be in their early mid-30s, if not more. And you're absolutely right. But I think anyone we do bring in as a free agent at the moment would be that sort of player. Somebody who's going to come on last 10, 15 minutes when we're 1-0 down or we're pushing for a winner and we want to go long. Dare I say a Meyerhofer, Matt Smith type player who can just change the dynamics of the game a little bit. At the moment, we've got no one we can bring in that can give us something different if we have to go. I
think we're lacking, even in the squad at the moment, we are lacking a typical Harris forward line anyway, because we do not have that big guy up front, that Steve Morrison, that Matt Smith. There is one name that's popped up, Troy Deeney, if he ever wants to play football again.
Well, I'll tell you what, we joke around. I think anyone, you don't have to move at the moment. If you got a height, it works for us, I think, in both ways. So sometimes, like I was watching yesterday's game, in the last 10 minutes, Watford had a couple of corners. And I remember saying to myself, like, fuck me, like, if we had Matt Smith right now, yes, we're thinking about what can you do in the offensive third, but how good was he, in defending set pieces? How good was Steve Morrison at defending set pieces? So yes, we think about getting a big centre forward up front, but just in set pieces, when you're 5 minutes left of the game and you've got to look at the injury time clock and you got to defend a free kick or a corner, just having a big lump up there to kind of help the likes of Cooper and everyone else to kind of clear our lines a little bit can be so powerful for us. So that's not a bad option. But like I said, anyone we get on a free ain't going to start. They ain't going to be good enough to start. It'd be more of an impact to help us out, really.
Absolutely. I think there's not, in terms of the game yesterday, I don't think there's an awful lot more we can cover over the game itself. I think we've kind of, there's not much more to say. We ground out the result. There wasn't many chances. A couple of things that I will mention. I listened to a Watford Twitter space or X space yesterday after the game and actually spoke on it for a little while just to give them a perspective from our point of view. And one of the underlying tones, and I see it on Twitter across all the forums, is that clubs are absolutely desperate for this money from the Premier League for next season. That Watford fans were talking about how important it is with debts and things growing. We've spoke about it. Clubs have changed their managers because they're desperate to keep in this division for that. Do you think we've got 11 games to go? I wouldn't be surprised if we still see maybe 3 or 4 different managers, Watford being included, still being sacked, with clubs desperately trying to roll the dice. It's such a big thing, isn't it? And it's, relegation is never something you want to go through as a club or a fan or player or whatever. But now it's the pressure is so high on all of these teams, isn't it?
Which is probably another reason why the club reacted the way they did and get rid of Joe Edwards and bringing Neil Harris in, because survival is imperative, like you say, for the financial implications of us going down. It may mean us selling all our best assets for half the price or half the value that we think they're worth at the moment, just to survive. And there's so many, like you said, so many other clubs in and around us at the moment are thinking exactly the same thing we're thinking of and are desperately trying to make these things happen. I mean, that Ishmael, what his name is, that Watford manager, I think someone mentioned in the comments earlier, I'm surprised he was in charge for our game, because there was talk he'll get sacked the last game, how he's not even sacked now, I don't know what's going on there. But at the moment, he's certainly set up a PB for Watford manager. I think he's the longest serving manager they've had in the last 10 years, isn't it? Did he join in the summer, I think? So he's been there about at least 7 months.
He's lasted quite a long time. But again, it's one of those, isn't it, that they're a club that have, I don't know how long they've been down in the Championship, but their money, them parachute payments are running out, and they're running out fast. And them sort of clubs Hull again have invested heavily. If they don't do it, the implications of not getting out of this division the right way or dropping out of it the wrong way are huge right now, and everyone's under that pressure.
The thing is as well is you look at League One now. It's so strong. League One is what the Championship was like 6-7 years ago. There's some massive clubs down there. There's some good money, some good ownership down there, and it is. If you go back down, you ain't coming straight back up. Some people were saying, "Oh, we'd come straight back up." You got to remember, there's 12 of these players won't be here next year. We go down because you've got 6 out of
certainly our best ones won't.
Exactly. I bet Casper Denor and Ian Fleming will not be here next year. Regardless.
Absolutely.
And that's without the free agents we got and with the loan players that we've got, that even we probably couldn't get back on loan because they're better than League One level. So
and to add to that, sorry to interrupt, Jay, but you look at Maku, Esse, all these youngsters, all our best assets, they'll all have to go because financially we just have to get rid of them, make some money, won't we?
Without a doubt. And we're not, John Berylson, God rest him, he done a fantastic job financially with his club. Absolute brilliant job. And, stabilised us through COVID. And I remember I didn't have to pay for my season ticket the year later because he didn't charge anyone who couldn't go. He done an amazing job financially for the football club. But going down, we would not be able to compete with some of these big clubs that are down there, and we wouldn't come straight back up. The money has changed drastically from the Championship to League One. There is starting to become a massive gap now where there wasn't a gap before. And in a horrible sense as well, it's got bigger between the Championship and the Premier League. But staying up for clubs like us, especially, is so detrimental, and it's so important. That's why we made the jump we did to get Harris in, and that's why you're seeing the likes of Stoke, Watford, all the teams around us making these moves because we might not have wanted to sack Edwards because he was right man, wrong time, but staying up is more important than Joe Edwards' career, So it's scary to think how bad it could actually be going down. It really is.
Chris Brown, come on, Mickey, call me a hairdresser, then do a runner, stiff neck my ass. Chris, lovely to meet you yesterday again. Up in Block 10. We will pass that on to Mickey. As I say, I'm not going to speculate as to what Mickey's been doing to have a bad neck, but that's for another conversation. The other thing, before we move on, because we've got a game on Tuesday, I thought we could perhaps do the second half of the show. Looking forward to that, and maybe a little bit further ahead on to Saturday. Anybody that follows the X account, Mickey posted out the other day, earlier today even, the 3-word review for Watford. If I could ask you guys in the chat now so your 3-word review for the game yesterday, I'm going to read out some of the best ones that we've had from X. Who am I going to pick on? I'm going to pick on Joe first to give me your 3-word review.
My 3-word review is simply must stay up.
Love that.
Jay?
Great, but concerning.
Yeah.
Okay. This one here, which is I actually was going to say this, but the emotional one beat me to it earlier on X. Got job done, which I think is pretty much summarised. I mean, there's a few of these. We've got gritty but effective, 3 more points, survival mode football.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. I've just seen Connor's comments say "fight and win" in capital letters, and all I can picture is that fucking idiot in that Seattle shirt in his little body warmer turning around. Oh, that's tickling me. That's fight and win. I love that. That's
fight and win. Just 3 points. Still need more. Longman up front. Super Neil Harris. Need to score in Luton's shadow. We didn't lose anyone but us. Just a little bit of fun, guys. Obviously, yesterday, as we've all discussed, and I'm sure you've seen across other podcasts, you've seen across other forums and on Twitter, Facebook, you name it. Yesterday was about getting 3 points. Us three went to the game. I'm sure plenty of you in the chat were there as well. it might not have been what you hope for when you go to a game of football, but right now we need to be winning games of football, and 2 from 2, you can't ask much more from Neil Harris. Moving on to Tuesday, gentlemen, with a visit to Ewood Park, Blackburn. Someone's put their American Rover. One word applies to Tuesday's game versus Blackburn: revenge.
It does.
Completely different circumstances, but I think I wouldn't be surprised if Neil Harris doesn't try and tap into, because Neil Harris would have been well aware, he would have been looking at that final game of the Championship season last year and wanting Millwall to get in the playoffs, no doubt about it. And I don't necessarily think it's going to have too much of a bearing on the game, but Harris will draw on that, I'm sure. What do you think?
1,000,000%. I wouldn't be surprised if he's played them the full 90-minute game from start to finish, without a doubt, because that game showed the mentality issues, it showed the fitness levels, it showed the lack of belief from going up 3-1, and then they start to come back in the game, the belief end up on its arse. I think that game itself, even without playing Blackburn, is a perfect game to show the players on what we need to do, how we need to keep our mentality intact, the belief that we need to have, how to defend, how to not let our heads drop. I think it's a perfect game to show them any time of the season, to be honest with you. No Red Bull, Dan, I'm telling you, there's no Red Bull. I think it's a perfect game to show them at any time of the season to help them show what happens when you do lose focus and you lose attention to detail. So yeah, in that sense though, with it being Blackburn and with it being a 6-pointer, like Joe said, Harris is going to have that out. I wouldn't be surprised if he had commentary blaring over the speakers in the fitness room of the goal. I think he really will, because he's like that, Harris. He's a bit of a shithouse, Harris, in our favour, but also to help G the players up. So yeah, the players will be fully aware of what happened last time, and they'll be fully aware what the game plan is to stop it happening again. Joe,
do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we've played 2 tougher teams, didn't we? And we've won both those games. With greatest respect to Blackburn, yeah, they're not that good. They've still got their manager, John Dulles, and what his name is.
No. It's Eustace, isn't it?
Yeah. Was he? Okay, see, I quite rate Eustace, so I'm surprised he ain't doing better with them at the moment. But I mean, the last sort of 6 games, I think they've won. I think they've drawn a couple and lost a few. So anything can happen on Tuesday night. They could, spring a surprise and not beating us. But I think we're going to the right mentality. I know it sounds a bit negative here, what I'm going to say, but we go in there thinking we must not get beat. Defend, as well as we can, and try and nick a goal, which I'm sure we can do. I can't see why we can't go up there and get a result against Blackburn. Like I said, we played against 2 tougher teams in Southampton and Watford, and I reckon our players would have learnt a lot from those 2 games. I think their confidence will be a lot higher from those 2 wins, and then suddenly you're playing against a slightly weaker opposition, where you're going to think, actually, you know what, we could have a go here. We could probably hurt these guys a bit more. We're not having to kind of defend for our lives for 95 minutes, So it'd be interesting to see how we get on. But more importantly, we can't concede. If we nick a goal and we get an O's in front, then hopefully we could go on to win sort of 2-0, 3-0. Obafemi will be a lot more fitter for it as well. Those minutes in the bank would have done well against Watford. And I'm feeling quietly confident, and I hope we'll do really well against them. I'm sure we will.
I have a brilliant question from Finn, the commentary fan. This is outstanding, and I don't know if have you seen it, Joe?
No.
Have you seen what I'm going to, or Jay, either of you?
No.
Right. So Jay, I'm going to come to you first, and I just want an answer, just straight from you, and then straight to Joe.
Yeah. All right.
Gut answer when you see this. Would you have rather beaten Blackburn last season or now?
Oh, wow. That's awful. Now.
Joe?
Now.
I would have said last season, because I truly believe, have you beaten Blackburn and got into the playoff, and I think we would have won the playoffs. No disrespect to Finn, their commentary are a great side, and they did really well last season as well. But I just think the way we were playing that kind of playoff tournament, I think I would have fancy our chances on the Rowett to go and win that. If we lose against Blackburn tomorrow, Tuesday, it's not the end of the world. You know, we can still win against Birmingham. We've still got more points to play for. So I probably go against what Jay was saying there, and I'll have gone for last season instead.
I do agree that would have won to beat Blackburn last year, but the gut reaction to that question with the situation we're in
now,
that's in the past now. So,
yeah.
Gun to my head, if I could replay both at the same time, yes, Blackburn then. But no, for me, right now, beat Blackburn now and pull out of this bloody race as quick as possible.
That's a great comment there. We need to kick Sammy in the Smodics. Brilliant.
He worries me. He scares me. He really does.
He does, and there's another comment that's coming up that Blackburn have played a lot of minutes. They Newcastle in the cup went to penalties. They've obviously played yesterday, so they've had an extra game this week as such. And Smodics did have an injury in that cup game. I know he played over the weekend, but is he going to be able to get, it's a lot of minutes, there's a lot of that stuff going on.
Isn't he top goal scorer in the championship this season at the moment?
I believe he is. I think he's got
17.
Yeah, I think he's got, and including cup games as well, I think he's got 25 across the board.
Ridiculous. So his pace worries me. With Cooper's pace and Tanganga, he does worry me, but he's the only person I'm worried about. So
I agree with Andrew's comment there as well. These are the games we can sort of slip up, without sort of sound too negatively. We look at teams that are on a poor run form and not winning games. Suddenly, we grant them their wishes, don't we, sometimes? So we've got to go in there with the right mindset. We've got to treat everything as a cup final, as we have done. If we get a draw against Blackburn and we draw 0-0, is that a bad result? Do you see that as a bad result against another team that's struggling with us at the moment?
I'll be honest with you. I'm going to Ewood Park on Tuesday, and if you offered me 0-0 right now, as sad as it is to be travelling all that way, I would probably take it. Only on the basis, and I know you can't always think this way, but with the fixtures how they are, I don't think you can clip this as well, because this is probably going to make me look really stupid come Wednesday evening. I can't see all of the teams continuing to win their fixtures.
I agree.
This week. So if you offered me a point, I would take it on the basis that I don't think we'll drop into the bottom three with a point.
One or two teams will slip up, and I'm sure they will do it over the course of the next 5 games. You'll get one or two teams. It just seems a bit weird at the moment when you look at the form table. Everyone's winning. The only teams that are probably losing games are the top teams, like Southampton and Leicester at the moment, which is fucking really weird. But that ain't going to last forever, and that will change. And those teams down there will start losing games again. We just got to make sure it's not us. If that's Blackburn or Birmingham that end up, or Stoke end up losing points or losing games, then that's where it's going to turn out. Then great, I'm all for that.
100%. Jay, before I just come to you on that question, 4 points from Blackburn and Birmingham are taking a heartbeat given Leeds the week after. I was going to say, if we get a point,
Leeds, fucking hell, yeah.
If we get a point at Blackburn, that needs to be followed up with 3 on Saturday. That's the kind of caveat I would add to that. Would you take that? Would you be happy, or are you? Because I could the look on your face is kind of suggesting that you want to go to Blackburn and win. What are you thinking?
I think if you had a gun to my head and said 4 points this week, great. I would take that. But if you have to win one of them. You can't go. You can't go to Blackburn, get a draw, other teams around us win, and then that puts the pressure on the Birmingham game so much more. It really does. So I think if you get the win on Tuesday night, and then on Saturday, and the results go, because they're playing some really tough games this week, and then we could take a draw against Birmingham. If that's how to play that, I want to win both games. And we should go to Blackburn for the win. But points are points. We're not going to win every game. We know that. So we can't be disheartened. But as long as we put in more points than the teams around us, I don't care how it comes. I would take 12 draws now, 11 draws, as long as that betters QPR, Stoke, and however. So I think it depends on the results from the other teams before I go looking for a draw. But in the 90th minute, or the 80th minute, if it's 0-0 and teams around us losing, I'd then want Harris to probably shut up shop and go, do you know what, this would be a good point. I think it determines how the game's going in real time. But yeah, I'm not one for looking to go for draws, to be honest. So
to simplify things a little bit as well, is like, what do we need? Like we're on 39 points. Yeah, we're saying 50 will probably give us safety. Let's argue one or 2 points out maybe. So if we get a draw against Blackburn, if we win against Birmingham on Saturday, and we get a draw away to Leeds, which will be a tough ask, but listen, we've beaten Southampton away, so why can't we draw against Leeds away in a big game like that? That's suddenly 5 points with 8 games left of the season, which means we then need to get 6 points from the last 8 games, which is 2 wins or a win and a few draws. So 5 points isn't the end of the world. So we don't beat Blackburn, we get a draw against Blackburn, it's not the end of the world. However, if we beat Blackburn away on Tuesday and we win against Birmingham, against the teams that are in and around us at the moment, then fucking great,
Look, win our home games, Joe. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Win our home games, go away to these teams, and if you get a point, you get a point. But we've seen the mantra for how it's going to be at away games. It's going to be, if you can come and beat us, you can have 3 points. But
to your point there, Joe, I absolutely agree with you. Win our home games. But what's really interesting is that, I talked to my Watford mate again yesterday, and I said to him, out of curiosity, who would you say was our best player? Thinking he might mention, I don't know, Fleming or Billy Mitchell or Norton Cufford. He picked out? I'll let you both pick one.
Well, who we think he said? Oh,
yeah.
Hold on, sorry.
This is a Watford fan watching the game. Was there yesterday. I asked him, who would you say is our best player?
George Saville, I think he's
you reckon George Saville? What do you reckon, Stephen?
It's one or two. I'm gonna go with Ryan Leonard.
Ryan Leonard. Interesting you say that. So the best player he thought that we had, which was a bit of a shocker, and bear in mind, I respect my mate because he goes to a lot of football, he knows his stuff, yeah? He picked out Jake Cooper. And he added to that. He said, you know what? He goes, he just fucking won every fucking header, didn't he? I was like, what do you mean?
You say that, Joe. Harris said something in his presser about Cooper, saying I think he won like 17 or 18 headers or something. Really? And it was like, apparently Harris joked and said that's going to be by far and away the most in the country.
Really? That's interesting.
So that's a great point. That's good analysis.
My mate Ricky said to me, he said he basically added to that. He said, mate, he goes, he won every fucking header. I said, everything we put in, he was there. He won every header. We couldn't get around, couldn't beat him. And it was just so interesting because we don't really, yes, we know what Jake's about and his qualities, but I think for so long, we've had so much, I don't know, not hate for Jake Cooper, but he's had a lot of stick, in the last few months and the way he's been playing and costing us and all stuff. But it's interesting when you've got an away supporter and looking at him thinking, if it wasn't for that player, we'd probably beat him at Millwall.
Do you know what that says to me as well, though, Joe? Is that we really were under the cosh.
Yeah.
For that game as well. That's what that says to me as well. Because our attacking players didn't stand out, because we didn't create much, because we were so far under it. Jake Cooper's won everything. And he's on the ball a lot more than everyone else.
Exactly. And who got man of the match? Was it Saville, I think, got it?
Yeah, it was Sav.
Saville got man of the match. And what was interesting, the last game against Southampton, who was our man of the match? It was Tanganga, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we've got our 2 centre halves that won man of the match our last 2 games. That says a lot about how we're set up, how we're playing at the moment, And I think we've got to, we talk about building a team around Fleming and doing all this at the moment. Forget all that. Our defence is what's going to win us these games and get us through this period and get us to safety, And like I said, for a Watford fan who picked out Jake Cooper as our best player and was frustrated that they couldn't score because he basically stopped everything that went in the box. It says a lot about how important he is to our team at the moment, And I, for one, hold my hand up, wanting him dropped a few games ago. Yeah. I was saying, get Jake Cooper out.
I was with you there.
I was
with you there.
So
and Barry, guys, you are talking like the next 2 games are must win. This could go down to the last game of the season. It really could. It could. If we don't win at Blackburn, it's not going to be game over, we're relegated, right, we're throwing the towel. That's not what we're saying. But with the form of the teams around us, it's looking like that we are going to need to go to places like Blackburn and get a result. So it's not must win. I wouldn't say Birmingham is must win on Saturday, although I do think there's a lot more pressure on your home games that we've already mentioned.
But Barry, would you rather us get some form of safety over the next sort of few games rather than wait until the last couple of games? I hear what you're saying, and it probably will go down to the wire, but that's probably the worst situation to be in. You're literally throwing a dice, aren't you? You know, Dan's having a pop again.
I'm not on the Spice or the Red Bull.
I'll be passing to him.
Oh no, Jay, no. That was Joe. That was Joe.
It's good shit.
You're out of it, Jay. You're out.
Oh, thank you, Dan. It's because I'm so.
No. If you hear what Dan say, he goes, Joe, your pal has been on the Spice, has he?
Yeah, the Watford fan.
The Watford fan. I'm so used to Dan just saying that. Jay's on the Red Bull. Jay's on the Spice. I'm like got a compulsion for it now. I'm like, oh, Dan's saying it again. I'm on.
he might have been Dan, but like I said, he was there. He watched it, and fair play to Cooper.
It's good analysis because it's how the game panned out as well, and that does worry me that when that happens. I mean, I remember when Bart won Player of the Year. That concerns me when keepers or defenders win because it shows you're under the cosh all the time. So yeah, it's concerning playing.
Good point from Charlie there as well, Stephen.
Yeah, 100%. I'd say Cooper picks up when he has a run of games with his partner, i.e. Hutchinson and Tanganga. Completely different players in Hutch and Tanganga, by the way. They're just contrasting styles completely. But I think Cooper needs someone around him, next to him, that guides him through the game of football, which sounds really stupid. He's a grown professional footballer. Well. Yeah. But he's not. We all know he's only captain because he's the longest serving player and he's played countless games. I saw a stat the other day as well. He's 9 appearances away from being in the top 10 of all time appearance holders for the club. Yeah, of Millwall players. Yeah, wow. And he's only about 20 odd from breaking, pushing himself even further up the list as well. So
and age wise, how old is he now, Jake? Is it 28? I think 28.
Yeah,
he can't be much older than that.
So he's got about another 3 years of playing championship football if we're still there,
Absolutely. And I mean, talking about player of the season, talking about performances. This Chris has put here, Honeyman
he's
for
29.
me is on for player of the season.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
gonna throw a name into the hat. I didn't mention this guy earlier. There was a comment that I'd gone past, but I wanted to. For me, our player of the season, if he remains fit for the majority of the games for the rest of the season, is Ryan Leonard.
When you say fit, as in not injured?
Yeah, Ryan Leonard.
Yeah,
because for me, he has been absolutely phenomenal. I saw a couple of people. Leonard was Millwall's representative in the London Awards. He was the player that was nominated for the club. And I saw people going, oh, Leonard, that's he's terrible, he's this, that, and the other, and really hammered that it was him that was chosen. And if you think about it, over the last season, when Leonard has played in this team, we are a better team. Whether he's asked to play in midfield, whether he's asked to play at centre-back, whether he's asked to play at right-back, right wing-back, he'll play anywhere for the team. Okay. And I don't get me wrong, Chris, I think George Honeyman has been superb. I think Norton Cuffey was up before his injury, was up there in the running as well. But I think it's going to take a lot for Leonard to be to be taken off that top spot, and for me, will be a shoo-in, regardless of who the manager is, to be offered a new deal before the end of the season.
I tend to agree with that. I thought earlier stages of the season, I thought Norton Cuffey made a real good run at having a shot at Player of the Year. But yeah, I mean, Ryan Leonard is just the perfect player. He can play everywhere. He doesn't look. He seems like a good dressing room guy. A good guy to have around the club. And yeah, he just epitomises everything that we're trying to do as a football club. So yeah, Ryan Leonard for me, 100%, because he just cracks on. There's no emotion from Ryan Leonard in terms of moaning about anything. He just gets on with his job and he does it to the best of his ability every single time.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt you, Joe. Just saw Barry's comment there. Barry, mate,
that's why I've left it there.
Are you sort of having a joke when you say you had a heart attack, or did you literally have a heart attack in that game, mate? I mean, if you did, obviously, I'm sorry. I hope you're okay now.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, fuck me. That's a little reminder to a lot of us when we get a little bit excited in games sometimes, don't we? And our emotions get the better of us. It just goes to show your life's too short, you know, and we all want to win football games. We want to make sure Millwall do really well. But yeah, Barry, mate, hope you're right, mate, if that is the case.
Yeah,
and,
hope all's well now, and that's in the past. And
yeah,
good on you.
Hopefully we put the relegation fight to bed early, mate, so that you don't.
Well,
the risk isn't raised for you, mate.
Well, that's it. Less pressure on the old tickety boo. Yeah.
But I think going back, as I say, I think that's a really important thing there, Joe, to say that, you know, we're all passionate fans. We all want Millwall to win games of football. But first and foremost, you know, hope everyone's okay. You know, safety comes first and health comes first and things like that. Barry, there's a comment coming up. I'll read it out now. I've seen it, Barry's, but I did. I held up the kickoff. Fine now, thanks.
Right. So it's your fucking fault, Barry. I missed the train on that day. Fucking hell, Barry. You're so selfish, honestly. I'm only joking, mate. No, I hope you're okay. Also,
I was just about to boot you out of the stream there, Joe, by the way, just for that slander on a listener.
Alex, I think it's Alex S mentioned earlier in the comments there that Coops for him plays better in a back four as opposed to a back three, and I completely agree. You know, again, it's square pegs, round holes, isn't it? And he does look so much more comfortable in a tight back four. We're not asking him to cover fucking, you know, the flanks and wide areas and stuff like that, or play with the ball at his feet. So, yeah, it's definitely helping him.
100%. Michael, it probably was your comment about Leonard being class. I thought I'd starred it, but I hadn't. But that prompted me to come back to him because we hadn't spoke about him yet. I knew someone had, but I wasn't sure if it was him. There's a lot of people saying sort of Honeyman and Leonard are the two that are now, you know, sort of leading contenders. Agree. Said it last week. If Leonard had stayed after Blackpool, we'd have got to the playoffs. That was again, without going back to last season, missing Leonard for that game against Blackburn was a big blow. And again, it just goes to show how important he's been to this side and why he was given that contract by Rowett at the, you know, and there was talk, wasn't there, that he wasn't sure if he was going to sign. He's probably had a reduced term or reduced money or pay as you play. I don't know what they.
You know what, Stephen? I would love to know a stat. Maybe this is one for Chaps to do on his next chat with Chaps. He hasn't recorded it already. I'm going to see if he can add it into his chat with Chaps this week. But I would love to know how many points per game we have achieved when Ryan Leonard plays against when he doesn't play. Whether that makes any real difference.
Chaps has put out his video. That means that Joe hasn't watched it. For those of you who haven't, Chat with Chaps is live on the YouTube channel. Really good insight. He pulls up a lot of stats and data about the style of football, Jake Cooper, and lots of really good stuff. So if you haven't checked that out, please go and do so. I'm on my Mickey spiel now. If you could please like this video, subscribe, all of the usual jazz. Before we carry on with the show, obviously all of us really appreciate the support that you're showing us. Again, a lot of your comments
tonight donate to Mickey's Just Fans page, which is the reason why he's probably done his neck in, trying to perform some acrobatic requests by one of his fans, one of his listeners. Or should I have said
again?
That? Sorry.
I'm not speculating. I'm going to let everyone else do that. But guys, we really appreciate you. We really appreciate your comments and your likes and getting involved with us. Obviously, a lot of your comments have led to topics of conversation for us to talk about. So really appreciate it. There's been a few comments about the lookalike thing. I might save that for when Mickey's back. No. I might save that for, because we said on Friday. No, we said on Friday that we were going to do a lookalikes competition. But Mickey, sorry guys, with the in the chat, if you've got it, can you please save them for when Mickey is here? Because I am not going to let him get away with it. Because Jay and I are going to get absolutely hammered by it, and he's going to get off scot-free. So we'll wait for him. We're not going to do that tonight. We'll save that for the next show. Danny Mack for Player of the Year, especially if he stays the course at left back. Interesting. I don't know if he's played a lot of football.
I mean, to his defence, though, Stephen, there's still 11 games left to play. If he plays every single game and carries on the form he's been playing, then why not? You know.
We can't plan a future around injury-prone players like Leonard. The playoff game should have proved that. We need to move on from them. Look, I understand that comment, Tunbridge, MFC, and I really do. I get what you're saying. But the only thing that concerns me with, again, I don't want to talk too much about the summer because we're in the here and now, but we're going to lose 10 players, 5 out of contract, 5 on loan. A club with our financial commitments, especially if we drop down to League One, but a club in our position, we might have to offer a couple of contracts. And for me, Leonard would be the obvious candidate to be the first one to do that.
Do you know why I would as well? Because his versatility, he covers 3 or 4 positions as well, which keeps money in the bank because you've got someone who can fill in the cam in centre midfield, at right back, centre back. So Leonard for me, if he can prove that he's fit and he stays fit to the end of the season, he's probably the first person I offer a deal to be honest.
Yeah, and also,
sorry, Joe,
go on. Go on.
That stat you asked for it, Ryan Leonard win percentage with 36, without 13.
So win percentage with 36, without 13. Fucking hell.
I mean, I don't like either of them, but as a personal thing for Ryan Leonard,
given our
massive.
situation, OJ, given where we are in the league and how we've really struggled this year so far, we haven't had many wins.
No, that's right.
That's a massive, massive difference. That just goes to show you how important Ryan Leonard's been to our team, our defence.
Splitting off. It's literally we lose half more games.
So what does that tell us? That tells us we've got to keep fucking Ryan Leonard. Leonard fit.
Definitely.
Now, I don't know how he can work that, because ultimately you need him on the pitch for us to win games. All I'd say is that maybe if we do end up being 2-0 up against Blackburn or Birmingham on Saturday next week, do we take him off, rest him and just sort of wrap him cotton wool a little bit,
Yeah, 100%.
There was that mistake we made last time, wasn't it, Jay? Where was it the cup game against Leicester? When we played him and Hutch, I think.
And Hutch got injured. There was a few players that got injured there, and there was no need to play them.
No.
But I totally agree with you. We need to keep legs
fresh.
Him. Yeah, big time, especially someone like Ryan Leonard.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that.
Can I tell you what? Losing Bradshaw is bad, and losing 1 or 2 other players is bad. But I tell you what, we lose Ryan Leonard at the moment, and I think that not just us, I think the fucking players will probably feel like, what the fuck, and it's psychologically, it would absolutely ruin us, wouldn't it?
He's a big player in that
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And just on the back of what you said there, Joe, the comment from Charlie, do we think we've seen the end of Bradshaw now? It would be a shame for Tom Bradshaw to bow out of the club the way it looks like it's going to be. I would be personally amazed if Tom Bradshaw is a Millwall player come the summer. I just can't see it, which is a real shame. There's a few more comments coming in, but there's one I've just seen from Michael. And again, I'm going to invite you both to say something off the back of this. It's appreciated when you read some of the comments, just so we feel involved, because we do invest all we can in our team, including podcasts. So thanks for acknowledging some of the better ones, guys. Michael, I agree 100% with that.
Definitely.
We as lads that do this podcast, we love our team. We do it because we enjoy it, but we're nothing without having interaction from you, from everybody, whether it's taking the piss out of what we look like or what we say or our opinions, or Jay on his Red Bulls, or Joe on the Spice.
Or Terry just shut the fuck up.
All this stuff. We really, really appreciate the support. And as I say, I've put every comment up on the screen. It's not that I don't value any more than the others. There's certain ones that we can pick out that are really good topics, and others, as I say, we try to show them all. But thank you very much for the support. And then the next one, Mickey, Uncle Fester. Mickey looks like the bloke who used to be fan on the board. Greg Wallace.
Lads, keep these ones safe. Don't ruin them out. Keep them safe.
I don't want to know.
Write them down. Put them in a little pad. Do whatever you got to do. Just don't fucking forget those ones, and just have them ready for next time Mickey's on.
I'm quite surprised. Is Uncle Fester back on Friday? He should be. I don't know. But yeah, I'm surprised he's. Oh God, this one.
I'm not looking forward to Friday at all.
Oh my
God.
Yeah, guys, as I say, Mickey, I'm surprised he's not in because usually he dips in, doesn't he, and messages and stuff.
Is he seeing this?
I think we would know by now, wouldn't we, if he was after that.
Moving it back to the football, there's some more comments about Mickey coming up.
I don't know if you heard anything different.
Yeah, he is.
I believe he's out of contract this summer. Does he get another contract? I mean, I would argue and say probably yes. Him and Leonard, 1 year each extension.
Yeah, they're the two that I think are front runners for the extension. I'm not sure. We have no money, but we want to waste money on a player and he plays half a season. Look, again, I really agree with it. I understand where you're coming from. We can't carry passengers. Mason Bennett is a prime example of that. But in the situation we're in, I think the club, I don't think they're going to have much choice. And out of that 5, Hutch hasn't played enough at all. Bar, his knees are gone. Yeah. Bradshaw is now potentially picking up injury after injury. Savin and Leonard are
technically, to your point there, Stephen, technically we're saving money by letting go of Bart, who is on a decent deal, because don't forget he re-signed again with us as our first choice keeper a couple of years ago. So he's on decent money. Hutchley will be on decent money, being our captain for how many years? Bradshaw, I don't know what he's on, but again, as a striker, they usually get paid more than defenders or, whatever. So just saving money on those 3 players alone would be great. Now, if Saville will take a little bit of a pay cut and maybe Leonard as well, I don't know how that works. But at least we know what they're about. They're kind of tried and tested, and I really do hope that we have a better squad next summer where we can probably utilise those players more of squad players rather than first team players. Because I just think they're so important to have in the dressing room, to have, when we need them to step in. And the versatility is so good as well with Leonard, isn't it?
Absolutely. Apparently Jay is a Call of Duty demon. Jay?
I have to Google that one.
Simon Moore, you guys are brilliant. Make my day when I'm depressed living in the USA. Again, it's great. We appreciate the support from near and far. It doesn't matter where you're from. We're all Millwall fans here. It's all good banter, guys. We appreciate the podcast you lot put out. It's all for the club. So come on, you Lions, 100%.
Exactly, Michael. Exactly.
We weren't 2-0 up versus Blackburn. No, we're 2 goals up. It was 3-1. It was 2 goals. Yeah. Oh God, Mickey, he's too sexy for his shirt. Is he on tour tonight? Honestly, he's going to listen to this back. He'd have you all. Mickey's in a straight jacket at the moment. Michael Chickless. I have Googled him.
I want to Google it. Can I Google it?
I have. Interestingly, we have. Yeah,
sorry,
go on.
I want to get the spelling of this. Michael
Ben Green, our very own. Anyway? Northern, he's an actor. Our very own Northern correspondent is in the chat. Ben, if you want to come on, if you drop me a text, I'll send you the link. Or if you look back in the chat,
I'll tell you what, it does look
a spawn. I think
looks like him.
Sam has a trigger in his contract. Jay, there's an absolutely classic comment coming for you, Brian. We've got Danny Mac left back. Blackburn going to be just as hard as Watford and Southampton. These are the games we always find difficult. They'll be fighting for their lives, 100%. Jay looks like a Tom Cruise extra.
Bloody hell!
Here he is. Evening Ben.
Tom Cruise is a stunt double.
Stunt double, yeah. After he's had an accident doing a stunt, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Andy, very sad to say, love Fleming, but have to sell him if we can get 10 million to build the squad. I know, gutting. I'll be honest with you.
I don't think we will get 10 million, but I agree.
No.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Oh, here we go, boys. He's here. He's in the chat. You've had it now.
His ears must be burning. That's what it is. His ears were burning.
Mickey, he's not doing his Louis Spence impressions. No, Jay is young Henry VIII. Chris Brown. Stephen, I told you I was going to lay off Mickey, but you said...
I thought we were saving this for Friday, which is just it's happened. The floodgates have opened now, and that's it. We're on, and now Mickey's in the chat. That's it. It's just game over.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
Chickless. I love that chickless.
We've got to that point where we've just descended from any sort of football talk to just any old waffle.
Let's try to get back on track again.
I am going to try and get back on track. So Blackburn on Tuesday, we spoke about a point, 3 points, what we need. I'm going to ask you both a question. Joe, I'll come to you first on this. Obviously, we had the team at Southampton. We had one change yesterday. How many do you think Harris will make? And also, and Jay, I'll come to you as well. How many would you make?
So I'll go first. So I'm waiting for Jay to ask.
So,
I mean,
I should put you on the spot there, didn't I? Go on, Joe.
Sorry, man. So you need. They also need 72 hours for a player to recover after a game. So that should be more than enough time. Joe looks like Borat. 72 hours is more than enough time for these players to go at it again. The only thing I would change, or I'd say, is that it didn't work with Watmore. It didn't work. So I would bring Longman back in again on that left side and just keep the same team. You know, they didn't look leggy in the last game. I mean, I thought Saville probably slightly a little bit leggy. So you could argue you could probably take Saville out and put Denor in and Longman in. But the back four has to stick with what it is. That back four needs to keep playing. If they're fit, they've got to carry on playing for the remainder of the season. And what happens ahead of them, you could probably tinker a little bit. Let's be honest, you can't do much up front. You've got Fleming and Obafemi, who I think can form a really good partnership because they complement each other. One being pacey, the other one being more technical on the ball, etc., etc. But the midfield is what does it for me a little bit. I think we can tinker a little bit in the midfield, but not too much.
Sorry, we've been distracted because Mickey is sending us separately, guys, a load of screenshots of our chat with our faces superimposed with other people. So it's just we've had a professional output here tonight. It's been all smooth sailing, and God. Mickey is still managing to ruin it. Simon, I'm going to come to your question. Who would you play up front? Tuesday, Obafemi is not going to head the long ball.
Okay. You got to play him, Simon. But you got to play him to his strengths. You can't be pumping high balls up to him. The ball's got to played behind the defence, allow him to run onto it. We saw a glimpse of what he's done in the last game against Watford and also against Southampton. He has got the pace and he can hurt the defenders behind them, but the ball has to be played on the floor behind the defenders for him to make those runs.
I think that he'll make one change personally, and I think that Ryan Longman will come back in. I think it'd be the same team to play Southampton. It's not the changes I would make. I want to give that midfield a rest. I think Casper Denore needs to come in because we need to start passing the ball and getting ourselves up the field. I think Casper can do that. I think that would be the two changes I make.
But who would come in for, in your opinion, Jay?
Watmore would drop out, and I would probably drop Billy out.
Would you?
Yeah, I would drop Billy out. He was great Saturday, and he was great the week before, but we're going to need him. He's clearly a very big cog in Harris's team. We're going to need him for the long haul. 3 games in a week. Casper is a great player. Give Billy some rest. But yeah, I would. They're the two changes I'll make. I just think he makes one.
Is there an argument though, Jay, to say that Sav getting on a little bit? He's 30, 31 years old now. 30, 34, 31. Yeah, he looks a bit leggy. He has been looking leggy this season, a bit Sav. Mitchell, what he lacks in technical ability sometimes, he makes up an effort in stamina and energy. Would it be a little bit more wiser to maybe for Sav to drop out and bring Casper in?
Yeah, totally agree with you.
I think Billy can go again. I think he's that fit.
He probably could, mate. He probably could. And do you know what? You saying that, I'll eat some words there, and I'd probably change that, and I'd probably agree with you there, actually.
And maybe bring Sav back on Saturday, where he'd be a bit more revitalised, fresh to go again.
Yeah, I probably would. And do you know what? I'm not ashamed to go back on something I've just said. But no, I think you might actually be. That's probably the more logical thing to do.
Possibly, I don't know.
Because I think Billy's got probably more of a part to play than people think.
And Harris loves him, doesn't he? Let's be honest.
Harris absolutely loves it. You see him after Saturday, he's got his arms around his neck again when he took him off. And I just think that the fact that he come off says that he probably does start.
That's a
on
good
Tuesday.
point.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe he's planned that ahead, isn't he?
He's planned that ahead. So I think they're the two changes he would make if it was me. I would make would be one of them midfielders drops out. To your point, Joe, Saville, that would be a perfect swap. But I don't think Watmore starts. I think Longman, as featured in both games for Harris, have done a very good job. So I think he goes back to what we did at Southampton.
Where does Watmore fit in to this new system with Harris, though?
I don't think he does. Honestly, I think he's going to be used as a forward player to just curb the gap between losing Bradshaw and having no one. He can offer us something in the last 20 minutes. I think that's his best sort of time for us. I think he's a last 20-minute player. Go and stretch the field, run the ball into the corner if we're winning, for instance. Gives us an outlet. But I don't think he fits. And I think Harris saw that Saturday. I think I honestly think he wanted to take him off at half time, but I don't think he thought it was probably would be detrimental to him if he did. Because he looked shattered after half an hour. So I don't think he'll start under Harris again.
I'm gonna, Richard. I saw your message there. I haven't had an email come through, so apologies. It might have gone into my junk, but I didn't see anything. And I begrudgingly put this up from Mark. Compliments to Joe, as my other half thinks you look like Gareth Bale.
I wish I had his fucking money, I tell you. But
a lot of
I'll take that over Uncle Fester any day, Michael.
A lot of the comments that have come through whilst you guys were talking about perhaps Watmore coming out, Sadford Denor again, Casper, we need legs. I have to agree with you guys saying I love George Saville, favourite player in the squad. Is he going to be able to play Harris's game of leg work football, chasing the ball 3 games in a week? I just don't see it. And I think you'd rather see Sav perhaps in the home games where he gets the crowd on side and that leader at the Den, that person who turns it a little bit nasty, the tackles and things like that. I think that would be a change for me. It's interesting because if you take Sav out though and you put Denor in, Denor's not going to do necessarily the same kind of role as Sav. He's going to look to get on the ball and be a bit more technical. So the game plan might have to change.
I think you lose leadership there as well. I think Sav keeps Billy in check a lot. He's talking. He's that link between. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just getting to, David. That's what the point I was just trying to make is that he's the link between the defence and the attack. He's the link in the centre of the park that he can talk to everybody. He's everywhere, and he was everywhere Saturday. He was brilliant. I think with Casper and Billy playing together, you probably do lose some of that because I don't really see Honeyman as that type of leader.
And also, sorry to interrupt, Jay. I keep doing that. I don't want to forget
I know.
At the end, But the game against Watford, for example, they had Jake Livermore playing in the centre of the park. If you watch Jake Livermore, he is a nasty piece of work.
Yeah, he is.
He uses physicality really well. He loves to bully players. There's so many times when you can see him taking Honeyman out and he'll, conveniently sort of step on his ankle as he's getting off him and things like that. He was fucking horrible. A few little elbows and from the high balls. But what I noticed was that Saville was not afraid to compete against him. Yeah, he went up against him quite often. And when he was trying to bully Billy Mitchell, and it happened a few times, Saville made sure that he went up against Jake to not let Billy get bullied. Yeah, and I think if you hear what the players say, and without naming names, but 1 or 2 players said that they actually prefer playing with Saville because of what he gives them as a presence on the pitch. So just to your point there, Jay, I completely agree.
Just before but I'm not going to forget it, from Rambo Ryan. Great podcast, guys. Jay has been a good addition to the team. Agree 100%. Thank you very much for the support.
I agree.
As well.
Thank you, guys.
Longman nailed on to start. I think Harris will like him away from home because of his work rate. Agree 100%. Ben, Richard Lacey, Mark, you need to kick her dog. You need to kick her dog. I think that's in relation to calling you Gareth Bale lookalike. Yeah. I hope so anyway. Yes, and it's interesting that we fought back when we MFC 1-1 against Southampton. Fingers crossed we got passion to get back to when we go behind 100%.
Yeah. That's right. Different mentality, isn't it?
Have any of our loan players the right to buy in the summer? To my knowledge, no. none of them had the agreement.
That's a great question. That's a great question. So let's touch on that for a second, if we can. Out of the loan players we've got, let's assume we stay in the Championship and we've got some finances. Would you make an offer to any of these clubs for any of these players? And if so, who would you do?
First of all, we think realistically, who can we get from those loan players? I mean, fuck Campbell, he can do one, you know. But I'm talking about Obafemi, Tanganga. They're decent players, and once they're fit and they're injury free, they'll be either lower Premiership teams looking at them or Championship teams looking at them. Look at who's the lad at Luton side? Is it Ogbeni, who played for Rotherham last season. Now we were looking at Ogbemi. Is that Ogbemi? Is that his name? We were looking at him last season, weren't we? And we might have had a chance of getting him. But
Chris was prepared, wasn't he? Chris was prepared to literally drive to anywhere in the world and pick him up and
The point I'm making is someone like him made the step up to the Premier League, and he's doing pretty well for Luton at the moment, So who's to say if Tanganga and Obafemi can get fit, they could make an impact in the Premier League. I'm not saying they could do it for their clubs. Obviously, Burnley will come down more than likely, so they probably might want to start Obafemi more next season in the Championship. So I think we're going to be finding it really difficult to try and side play. The only one we can probably might have a go at getting, because I can't see him getting into the team, is Norton Cuffy. I really can't see how he's going to fit into Arteta's squad, let alone first 11.
Yeah, the problem is, sorry, Jay, just to interject on that. I was talking about this on Saturday. I was talking about this on Saturday. Norton Cuffy is a victim of Harris Ball.
Yeah,
he's not gonna play at right back. And is he gonna want to come to a club and be essentially a reserve winger for 20 minutes?
No.
I really like Brooke Norton Cuffy. I think there's a really good player in there, and he will develop and have a decent career at this level. But I think he's going to suffer with Harris. And I just want to
say that, Stephen, and I know what you're getting at. And you've got to make a very excellent point there. But again, it's not about the start of the season. It's where we are at the season. And I think there'll be certain games that he might start with Norton Cuffy over Honeyman on that right hand side, like Birmingham at home, for example. We might think, we could play a little more on the front foot here on this one. Or like I said, if it's the start of the season and we're all start on 0 points again, then yes, you kind of want to play your most expressive players. Again, we're just thinking about the now. It's about being hard to beat. It's about grinding out results and players are going to work hard. And Norton Cuffy, to be fair, yes, he does work hard and he sort of trap, but you saw it when he came on against Watford. He was trying to help out Leonard, but he wasn't giving us the defensive cover that Honeyman was giving us when he was playing on that right-hand side, was he? You can see that they're a different type of player. He wasn't busting a gut to get back. And I don't know. I just feel that, yes, he can offer us more going forward, but defensively, I can see why Harris is not picking him over Honeyman, for example, at the moment.
This is a good point. Kane wasn't near the Spurs first team when we had a look how he ended up.
But Chris, to your point there, mate, he did go to Norwich on loan after us
and Leicester as well,
and then eventually got into the Spurs team. So I hear what you're saying, but Kane wasn't anywhere good enough then, and he wasn't even after the Norwich loan either.
I think Longman will be made available. Look at what Hull have spent. Look at the players Hull have brought in. I think Longman's going to be well up for grabs at a good price.
And Jay, to your point, their podcast guy, I can't remember what his name is now, the whole podcast, Steve might know him.
Anthony,
yeah, he made a point of saying that they've invested a lot of money and they've really kind of throw the dice this season to go up. If they don't go up this season, financially they're fucked.
Yeah, big time.
They're in a big problem. Do you know what I mean? So
I really like Longman.
The likes of Longman will probably get released on the free.
Yeah, I like him.
I can see that happening. And I think we might.
I'll be honest. I'm not. I can't get on board with. Longman. He might sort of run around and give you the. I just don't see it. The guy from the whole podcast said he was amazed that another Championship club took a punt on him.
I don't think it's that bad.
I don't think
I'm not convinced.
He
I'm not
works
convinced.
hard. He could be quite effective. I think his crossing's not bad. When he plays on the right hand side,
He's versatile.
When he's on the left hand side, I like the way he kind of cuts in onto his right foot and has a go. He scored. He scored one or two goals for us, but he can be an effective player.
Yeah, I don't mind him at all.
Yeah,
there's an absolutely brilliant comment, guy, again from Michael. He seems to be coming out with some absolute belters. We're sort of coming towards the end of this show tonight, and I just thought for a couple of minutes we can have a discussion. And the guys in the comments, I really hope Mickey's still watching at this point. I really, really do. So Michael Dunn. Yes, it's been a good panel as usual, guys. It's always a good podcast on here. Talking about lineup changes, would you bring Mickey back on this panel or keep the same? Guys, if we can get a couple of minutes, if you guys can comment in the chat, would you keep the lineup the same for the next show, or would you bring Mickey in for one of us? We can take it if you're fed up with one of us, or
yes or no.
Yeah. And while the guys are doing that, and obviously the comments will catch up. Guys, both Joe and Jay, thank you very much for joining this evening. Obviously, Blackburn on Tuesday, Birmingham on Saturday. Jay, I will come to you first. Final words of positivity for the week for the podcast and the chat.
Well, I think that we're all in unison with that. This isn't sustainable, but this is 2 wins on the board. This isn't about football style. This isn't about tactics. This isn't about attack. This is about staying in the division. This is about financial implications. This is about a Millwall identity. And this is about putting our best foot forward and going to war for 11 weeks. And there is no one better than Neil Harris. We've touched on that every show now. And now it's time to put that sort of conversation aside and accept that regardless of the style of play, if it means 3 points, it means 3 points. The off-season can be discussed in the off-season. Right now, we need to get behind the team, get behind Harris, be horrible, horrible bastards at the Den, like Saturday, and we need to grind out results. I said, I don't care if the keeper kicks it out, it's a seagull, and goes in off his arse for an own goal in the 90th minute to win every game. But we need to accept that this is just about staying in this division. So let's pack the Den on Saturday. Let's get good numbers up there on Tuesday, and let's get behind the boys. That's all from me. Come on, you Lions.
Good luck, Joe, following that. But final words of positivity.
What he said. Just copy and paste that one. No, just echo what you said, Jay. I agree with you. Like I said, it's another cup final. It's another game we've got to go and win. Let's not leave it to the end of the season. Let's get safety now. Let's get these wins, and we can enjoy the last few games of the season and play a bit more expressive, expansive football. At the minute, it's about winning these games. Like Jay said, who gives a fuck about whether we're playing sexy football, champagne football or not? It's not about that. It's about winning. Somebody's got to win ugly, got to win dirty, but most importantly, get the points on the board. Let's secure safety, and we'll have another go next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I do my last bit, I've got some comments, obviously, about keeping the chat the same or keeping the panel the same. Ben, how many we sold for Tuesday? I don't actually know, Ben. At least there'll be you, me, and Omar there, and I'm sure a couple of other stragglers. That Millwall podcast. This is Mickey. Reckon I might be looking for a few new panel members this week once I've listened to this show back. So. We asked the question. I've starred 19 messages from about the keeping the panel the same. We have Mickey on the bench. Mickey is our leader. Can't get rid of Mickey. Best to wind up.
Yeah.
Keep Mickey on the bench and bring him on with 20 minutes to go.
Should we call Mickey Watmore from now on? Mickey Watmore.
Keep Mickey on the bench until he loses about 2 stone. Mickey brings the glamour and the looks.
I agree.
You can bring him back, but turn him around so we can see the back of him. I'd start Mickey for experience and take him off at half time, put him fresh legs on. Mickey, great words of Alan Sugar. You're fired. I stand with Mickey. Can't get rid of Mickey. Release Mickey on a free. Bring Mickey on as a sub. Offer Mickey up as an extra in Snatch 2. Bring back Greg Wallace. He can knock us up an omelette. Seriously, you can't lose Mickey on the seats. Used to be found on a board. Used to be bloke on a podcast. Which is fantastic, guys. Brilliant. It's been amazing tonight. The comments have been so good.
Really enjoyed it.
Andy, this is great. Bring on a guest every time. We'll mark them out of 10. Choose anyone from the chat. Andy, we'll pick you first, mate. Get in contact with us and you can come on and we'll... Mickey's now getting his own back by posting a load of stuff on Twitter about us three. Great show, lads. Stay the same. Cheers, lads. Proper laugh tonight. Top 3 guys. Only one on Lions TV. Give Mickey a 1-year contract extension. Red card, Mickey. I'm gonna leave the last comment that I'm gonna leave is from Daniel. Again, great show, lads. Guys, I've said it so many times. Joe, Jay, Chris, Omar, Mickey, Ben, Dan, all of us really, really appreciate the support that you give to the channel, you give to our podcast. It's really, really appreciated. We do look at all the comments. We do take feedback on board. If there's something you guys don't like, let us know. We'll try and change it. We'll try and make it better for you. There's been a couple of comments about, again, another one here. Jay's been a brilliant addition. I really agree, Jay. It's been amazing to have you on. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Joe, as always, a pleasure to do these podcasts with you.
Yeah, just to say, agree with you saying, Steve. I mean, like, you know, we as much as you're giving up your time, you know, listening to this and watching this and interacting with us, we're giving up our time being here. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't enjoy doing it. You know, I could be with my wife at the moment, you know, spending time with her on a Sunday evening. And there's no way I'd be fucking here. So this could be shit, but I'll fucking make sure I'm here to get some time away from her.
Just so you all know that Joe's wife doesn't listen to the show. He's not that brave.
What I like. Yeah.
But no, I really appreciate it. Positivity from me to end the show. I'm looking forward to going to Blackburn. If any of you guys are going up there, please come and say hello. It's really great to interact with you guys. I think 4 points this week would be an amazing return for the Lions, and then go into that Leeds fixture. As I say, please like, please subscribe, please check us out on all the socials, share with your friends. There's so many people that come up to us and say, oh, we've only found you recently, or you know, watched the last show. So there's a lot of good stuff that goes on our social media. Chat with Chaps is outstanding content. If you love a little bit of data and analytics on games, he's really, really good at what he does. We've got Who Are You? We do the lives. We do bits and pieces pre-records. So please continue to support us. We also, really appreciate it.
So I keep stopping your flow. I'm sorry, mate. But also look at our YouTube channel. There's actually some player interviews in there as well. So you've got like sort of Cherno Samba interviews. You've got Alex Ray. There's the Paul Eiffel, Joe Dolan. There's one that I've done with John Goodman, which, you know, I think there's some decent ones there. And there's plans to do some more player interviews over the coming months as well. So definitely have a look at YouTube of those ones as well, because they're really good to watch and listen to as well.
Absolutely. And on that note, we will be back with another live show on Friday. Obviously, the Lions play on Tuesday at Blackburn, hoping to keep up Neil Harris's winning streak, or at least unbeaten streak, for a third game before we hit Friday Night Live. Thanks again, guys. That way's been Joe. That's been Jay. I'm Stephen. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Cheers, guys.